All right, so as you can imagine, quite difficult to stay on top of where we are in this. It seems a complete restart, a clean slate, if you will. However, yesterday, the trial getting underway again or continuing, depending which legal analyst you talk to. Let's head over to reporter eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu following that for us. And Manqoba, hello to you. And there's still a lot of confusion around whether or not, and you can clarify this for me, I'm sure, whether or not those who are now still the accused can change their statements. They can change what they say in court, because if you can argue that for the defense, then the prosecutors are also allowed to change their tactics. It's difficult to keep up with, isn't it? Morning.
Well, certainly, Gareth, I guess it is a bit difficult to keep up with, but we know that those that are, being in front of the court, those that are appearing, that will be testifying in this court, they can't change much of what they had said in their affidavits, as well as testimony that they presented here in court. This is because we know, of course, that those transcripts from the previous sitting of this particular matter may also be used by the defense as far as cross-examining is concerned. If there are any facts that are mentioned, new facts that are mentioned that were not there in the previous testimony, this will certainly form part of what perhaps the defense will then question these witnesses with relation to that. And we know, of course, that they will be closely watching as far as this is concerned, what these witnesses will be saying and whether or not there will be any changes that they say in court when you compare to perhaps the affidavits that they had given, the sworn statements that they had given back in 2016, and also just the testimony that they had given in court. I think most of those witnesses that will be affected are those that have taken the stand in the previous trial, Gareth, that being the two police officers that testified earlier on, as well as Tumelo Madlala, who's one of Senzo Meyiwa's friends, and Thokoze Sitwala, who also testified here in court, is also one of Senzo Meyiwa's friends who relayed to the court what had happened on that day. But as far as the case is concerned, Gareth, where we are now, the first witness to be called in this de novo trial, which started, of course, yesterday, is Zandile Khumalo, who is the sister of Kelly Khumalo. She had taken the stand, to recall, previously when this matter, just before this court case, the previous court case was nullified. She was the witness that had taken the stand then, and she had relayed what had happened on that day yesterday, also giving details as far as to what happened on the 26th of October when Senzo Meyiwa was killed, and the pandemonium that happened in the house, just moments when the intruders had walked into the house. She spoke of two intruders that went into the house. One of them was short, he had dreadlocks, and this is the man that she said was carrying a handgun, a firearm, that had then went to them and asked them to give him their cell phones and money as well. And she then describes what happened there when the second intruder had also come into the house. They then ran away. She heard a gunshot going off, and when that gunshot went off, she saw one of the intruders also, seemingly, making his way to her direction. And this is when she says she then, went into the bathroom. She hid inside the bathroom, and she heard two more shots going off. The third one, she says, sounded different from the other shots that she had heard. And it was only moments later when she came out of the bathroom, then she saw Senzo Meyiwa in a crouched position in the sitting room, and it became evident at that particular point that he had been shot by the intruders. She said that she then went out of the house to try and call for help, going to the neighbor's house, Maggie Piri's house, where she tried to ask them to phone the ambulance and police, but they were also panicking at the time. They were frantic, and so she returned to the house to see that Senzo Meyiwa had been shot. And she stopped just at the point when they were taking Senzo Meyiwa to hospital, describing, of course, what had happened in that moment. And we're expecting that today she's going to continue with her testimony here in court. Of course, the 5 accused in this matter have all pleaded not guilty to the charges. This is what also happened when this court case had started the previous trial. They indicated that they knew nothing about what had happened in that house. And of course, yesterday we heard them again, Garrett, saying that they knew nothing. In fact, when they were asked to plead, I think most of the responses that we heard from them was that they knew nothing of what happened in that particular home. So we're going to hear more of the testimony from Zandile Khumalo this morning. And of course, after that, we're expecting that perhaps cross-examination could then likely begin.
Leading in evidence and then obviously cross-examination afterwards. Manqoba Mchunu, thank you very much indeed. We'll come back to you, I'm sure, before the trial starts a little later this morning.